Well, Jimmy and JoAnne, while people here in the United States have been distracted by possibly the biggest political scandal in history that's still percolating, there is even more turmoil percolating in North Africa. And you guys have a report directly from what looks like a pub. How are you tonight?
We're doing good, thank you.
There's a fire and brimstone preacher here that was taking a vacation with his wife to Tahiti, and he doesn't like to have his parishioners know how he lives or whatever. And when he was leaving, he said the basement door is locked and there's no key to it. So as soon as he backed out of the driveway, headed towards the airport in Houston, JoAnne went down and picked the lock. And when we got in the basement, it was this real nice pub. So it's a nice, friendly pet place. So, for a few more days, we're going to be blotto.
There we go. Blotto. I haven't heard that in a long time, but that's a great phrase.
Looks like an Irish pub, doesn't it? Or an old-fashioned. Jimmy, just excuse Jimmy. Whenever he has to cough, he's going to walk out because he doesn't want to cough in everybody's face. He's well getting over his lung infection. Is what he had. He didn't have any kind of strange virus. He just had an infection. Right. So he's getting over it, doing better, and next week he should be 100%. He's about 80% now.
Great. Okay. Well, today we were going to talk mostly about this question of the UN and the potential that it's been infiltrated by elements of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, this is something that you brought to my attention, JoAnne. What causes you to explore this possibility?
Well, the Libyan tribes got in touch with me, and they were really, really upset today. We're going to talk about this more on our show. But there is a discussion. First of all, let me say that the peace talks and now the joint agreement to have no more conflict on each side in Libya, which was held, I think, in Berlin or Geneva. Anyway, that is a military ceasefire. That has nothing to do with the politics in Libya. That has to do with the military. And the other side is mostly mercenaries and terrorists brought in by Turkey. But they have agreed. I don't know if the terrorists actually agreed, but that other side has agreed, and the LNA, the Libyan National Army, has agreed to a ceasefire. But that has nothing to do with the politics. So what's happening now is that Stephanie Williams, who's the UN representative for Libya, appointed by the Inspector General or whoever he is at the UN, she has nothing to do with Libya. She's just a citizen of the U.S. who knows a little bit about Africa, I guess. Or anyway, she set up this. This is a shameful thing for the Libyans too. They hate that there's not a Libyan representing them.
Yeah.
She has set up what she calls a Libyan dialogue. It's virtual meeting right now. It's got like 70 members, and it's going to be held in face-to-face in Tunisia on November 9th. Now, what they were telling me, and they gave me this list of all the names. They said, you have to understand the big problem here is that 70 of the 76 members are all Muslim Brotherhood, Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, terrorist people who actually tore Libya apart and continue to tear it apart and steal from it. And I said, well, how does she pick her list? And they said, it's bribery and corruption. It's all money. There's a lady tied to her. They didn't give me her name, but there's a lady she works with. They said she's Palestinian, Jordanian. They're not sure, but she's Muslim Brotherhood, and she has bribed all these Muslim Brotherhoods to be part of the meeting to decide on the government.
And this woman too, for sure.
And this woman to be what government is going to be in Libya. So the tribes are irate, and they gave me a formal statement. They said, please report this. Please get this out. Everybody needs to understand these are not people who represent Libya. These are people less than 5%. I asked them how many percentage of the people would support the Muslim Brotherhood. They said less than 5%. The rest of the people support are with the tribes and with the real governments, a real government in Libya, not a phony one that is stealing the country blind. But they said, they don't care about the money because it's not their money. They just take it from Libya. They do whatever they want.
They've been stealing Libyan money since February of 2011. $500 billion was stolen by the Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan, with full knowledge and approval and imprimatur of the U.S., UN, and NATO. And this shows continuing disingenuousness by the U.S. because this woman absolutely was selected and put forward to the UN as the U.S. approved representative for Libya. No thought whatsoever for the Libyan people.
See, the Libyan people have not had a voice for 10 years. And this is why the tribes are now so upset about this, because they said this is not, yeah. Erdogan on the ceasefire, just a little sidebar here. Erdogan said, oh, that's not going to work. He's not going to follow it. And directly after that, this lady, Stephanie Williams, said anybody who doesn't follow the ceasefire is going to be sanctioned by the UN Security Council.
Mm-hmm. And I'm
whatever
going to
that
bring
means.
forward some further proof about how Erdogan absolutely is in the pocket of the deep state U.S. and how he has free reign to do whatever he wants, no matter what anybody says. He thumbs his nose at him, and the U.S. is supporting him in yet another attack on Russia from the Azerbaijan area, in the Ukraine as well. And in our show today, I'm going to bring forward a whole lot of proof that the U.S. absolutely is preparing to wage war against Russia. Hard proof that the U.S. without any approval of the citizens of the U.S. So, it's a real disturbing thing. They've got us all watching this farce, this election. And in the meantime, deep state is absolutely going to have us in war probably before we can blink our eyelids. It's terrible.
They're going to try, but thank God Putin is, he's not
going to have
war.
a choice.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, are you saying that this is something that Donald Trump will initiate, or that the deep state will do against his will or with his cooperation?
Donald Trump said a long time ago, he does not control the international agenda of the United States. He admitted that. He has no control whatsoever. Deep state controls it. I think Trump has been so beat up. I think he never understood what he was getting into. I'm pretty sure that they gave him the 2-part kill shot, and so they've had him doing their bidding against what he had always thought and planned. Your heart goes out to the guy. He's been so ineffective in international activities, in fact, to the detriment of the world, and all these military operations that are going on all over the place.
Well, this is all New World Order stuff. And you have to remember, Jason, and it's come out now in Hillary's emails and a lot of the emails that have been released about Barack Obama stacking every agency, every judge and everything with like-minded people. And he is Muslim Brotherhood. And I say that from my own knowledge from the Libyan tribes who told me long before he was elected that he was Muslim Brotherhood. And we also know that the DIA agent that was in our home, Eric Maddox, who told us that the government's decisions were being made by the Muslim Brotherhood under Obama, and that they were the people that were the translators for all the sensitive documents that were in Arabic, that it was Muslim Brotherhood. And I think we get back to the Awan brothers or whatever their name was in the secretary. Yeah, this has all been put in place a long time ago. This is why the deep state is supporting Turkey. Turkey is the home of the Muslim Brotherhood. And Hillary Clinton, in her emails that just recently came out, was supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, working with them, and had intended to install them in Libya, make Libya a the ground source for all of this ISIS. It would have been a home base for ISIS and all of this. What do they take over countries with a phony
false flag
operation, phony revolution, put in all these mercenaries and take over the country.
This also gets to the point that, and we've had proof, no politician has ever wanted to see it. Jason, you've seen it. Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, bought 50,000 of the most sophisticated shoulder-to-air rockets that the U.S. could originate. 50,000.
It's a lot.
20,000 of them were delivered into Libya via Qatar. The other 30,000 went someplace else. So she bought enough of very sophisticated rockets. As the maker told us, they could take a 12-year-old child and in about 30 minutes have him hit any target within a 12-inch size at miles distance, 6 miles, I think he said. So, these 50,000 rockets built in the United States and delivered to terrorists all over the world by Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State. So the deep state was setting up to have these phony Muslims acting as terrorists to start conflicts all over the world, so they could obviously take over all the countries that they wanted. And it's real disturbing. But this, we've been talking about this, Jason, as you know, for almost 10 years now. And 50,000 very sophisticated shoulder-to-air rockets, that represents almost every military aircraft in the world.
We knew about this while we were in Libya in the summer of 2011 when NATO was blowing it up, because Libyan security came to us as the only Americans who were there that weren't either on the ground fighting or killing someone, or there to make money by telling stories and lies like CNN. They came to us and they asked us, why did your government pass 20,000 shoulder-mounted rockets to these mercenaries that are here in this country?
It was a little stronger language. They said, what is your government doing delivering 20,000 of these very sophisticated rockets to Muslim Brotherhood, Ansar al-Sharia, Islamic fighting group, Al-Qaeda in Libya? What is your government doing? And that was in early summer 2011.
So we've known about this, and then we went into, there was a whole bunch more information that came forward to us after we got home, and then the Benghazi thing happened.
In fact, Chris Stevens was killed.
Over these
rockets.
Yeah. And that's that thing that came out last week with the
pajama man.
Yeah, the pajama guy.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you guys about, because that story has just been being rekindled through mostly social engineering. And what I have become very interested in is how these operations originate in these seemingly harmless enclaves like, Twitter and YouTube. These, when they first appeared on the scene, they seemed like almost children's toys, teenagers exchanging videos and things like that. They've now become essential parts of everybody's lives. And you're talking, of course, about the Falconer, who, the Daily Beast was reporting that Donald Trump was retweeting his, conspiracy theories, as they were called. I don't think the Daily Beast is a news source. It's another one of these social engineering things. But this is very important, because what the operation attempted to do was to co-opt the credibility of the Gold Star families whose children had been, and, husbands, brothers, sons, wives, etc., had been killed either in Benghazi or Extortion 17. And they kind of got them all together on this story with some vague details that did resonate with some of the Gold Star families. I spoke with Charlie Strange. He is the individual who I've developed the closest relationship with, just strictly in terms of the number of conversations I've had with him. And he was initially convinced by what they were saying, because he's received information that man pads were used to shoot down Extortion 17. And what I've learned is that that term just refers in general to a man-portable air defense system. It's a general term. It's almost like calling it a gun. And the facts and information that you guys have brought to the table, that it wasn't just a man-portable air defense system. It was a specific type of extremely precise fire and forget guided missile system that could be really transported. They're small, so they can be transported easily, but they're highly deadly and could be used to great effect by terrorists.
Expensive. We were told they were 1.8 million apiece. But here's the word game, Jason. Okay, we take a 14-year-old, let's say, child, male, female, whatever, and there's a bank robbery, and there's a black SUV that the car drives off. And they asked this child, what was your description of the car? Well, it was a Cadillac Escalade. And then all the cameras around there, no, there was no Escalade around. There was a Ford Explorer, a big one. So they defame her entire statement because she misquoted what vehicle it was. This is the same thing. We're not military people, neither are you. And whether it's a man pad or jack up, jack down, whatever. We don't know. The truth of the matter is, proof positive, the U.S. Secretary of State bought them from the U.S. manufacturer. The Pentagon found out about it after they had been delivered into Libya. And then they got the whole details that she bought 50,000.
Well, they showed up at the manufacturing facility
In
and
Florida.
asked and wanted to know how these.
A general
See,
from the
they
Pentagon.
tracked these missiles from the shooting down of that helicopter in Afghanistan back to Libya. And then they said, how did this happen? And they showed up at this manufacturer. They know who the
The
manufacturer
Pentagon
was.
general called the meeting, and he talked to the executives of Grumman in Florida. And he said, what in the hell are you all doing delivering 20,000 of these rockets to terrorists in Libya and then letting them get lost? And they said, General, it's not that. Secretary of State bought 50,000, not 20,000.
We don't know where they went.
She bought them in early 2010 before Arab Spring ever started stinking. And they delivered them to her in early, I think it was 2011 or late 2010. They even gave the delivery time, the makeup time for these things.
The way we got some of this information was a person listened to our DVD that was in that meeting. And he contacted us and he said, I can't believe you guys have this story correct. He said, let me give you another piece of information.
So, Jason, here's the thing.
But wait a second. Let's reiterate that for everybody, Jimmy, because this is extremely important. And JoAnne said it many times, but I know I want people to really focus on what JoAnne just told us. So for people who are just seeing you guys for the first time tonight, first of all, it's important that everybody knows in about 15 minutes, we're going to be starting the sponsor exclusive show, and people can watch that on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, or subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. But for people who haven't seen you guys before, they're going to want to check out LibyanWarTheTruth.com and sponsor you on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty so they can get free shipping on this DVD and they can see all the information you're talking about. An employee of the manufacturer of these weapons saw the DVD and confirmed to you by email that not only were you correct, but he knew the make, the model, how many, and it was totally not the normal process.
He was in the meeting
when
the Pentagon
when she bought them, et cetera. And the number is 50,000. It's not 20,000. It's 50,000. Hillary Clinton bought them, and Hillary Clinton distributed them to terrorists all over the world.
But that is that is not on our DVD.
No, it's not.
The thing about the rockets is on our DVD, but we didn't have that. The further information we just told you that he gave us is on our DVD. But
where can people see that? You've published that before on the show, haven't you? I've seen it.
Yeah, it's been published on the show when we did the Benghazi show, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that Benghazi guys
but it's important to remember, guys, when that story came out with Alan Parrott, that was immediately classified as a conspiracy theory by the Daily Beast, which is controlled by Barry Diller's IAC Interactive Corp., not to be confused with the CIA, although it uses the same letters. The same company owns Vimeo. And on the very day that Mike Moore, the editor of True Pundit, and myself put out a video debunking this story, saying that this is a social engineering operation trying to take advantage of the Gold Star families, trying to take advantage of Donald Trump, trying to spread around false information to muddy the waters of the facts of each of these stories. Less than 12 hours later, the Vimeo account was completely shut down. So I'm still in the process of rebuilding the new custom server that'll house all of our videos, and those legacy episodes will be restored in a matter of days, hopefully, when that comes up. So people will be able to see that. I hope they'll still become sponsors to see tonight's show on Patreon and Subscribestar.
Well, Jason, every bit of that is true. And the thing that we're seeing your efforts being rewarded by having your videos being played in such a dissimilar bunch of links that it really means that in spite of the attacks on you, that you're doing groundbreaking stuff. And Moore had the details from the Parrott Man. His book was put out 2 years ago.
That was Mike's book 2 years ago. This guy had a documentary 10 years ago. So why did he come out with it now?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
our stuff on Benghazi, bookend to bookend, much more detailed than anybody has ever brought forward. And we covered all that on our show with you.
With information from Libyan
It was a
security.
year ago,
and
April,
yeah,
wasn't it?
the document from Libyan
Yeah.
security was given to us by the tribes, and that was
A
actually
police
read
interview of one of the main perpetrators.
Yeah, it was read into the congressional record. Dr. Corsi reported on it when he was at WorldNet Daily.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal when we got it, but it has,
Right.
you know,
So,
Well, it's
but Jason, look at who owns or financed Facebook and Twitter and all the mainstream media. Look at who owns and finances 6 companies financed almost completely by Soros and the deep state, own all the media, and complicit in that Facebook, et cetera. And Facebook has some very, very lucrative contracts to provide details of all its members to who? CIA, FBI, Mossad, MI6, et cetera. So, it's absolutely an appendage of the deep state, as is Twitter, as is all the rest of them. So,
I mean, that's become exceedingly clear with Twitter. I mean, have you guys ever, no one has, but could you have ever imagined that such a major media outlet as Twitter would just straight block a news agency from publishing a story? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, the people on Twitter shut Twitter down because they retweeted it so many times.
Yeah.
So I just read today that the people that are against this kind of stuff are actually shutting down big tech. I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see where that goes. We've got a bunch of other things we're going to be talking about today. JoAnne, you want to just give us an overview of what we're going to be talking about in less than 5 minutes when we make the move over to the sponsor exclusive segment?
We're going to talk more about Libya, what's happening there. I've got a video of Sheikh Ali Alahlo, who's the actual leader of the Libyan tribes. We're going to talk about the people that were appointed to this group. We're going to talk a lot about Libya today because we haven't been talking about Libya very much. And then Jimmy's got a bunch of stuff. He's going to talk about banking and kind of some world news and COVID.
We're going to detail how everything that's happened, the lockdown, spacing, and all that was planned years and years in advance. And I've got 4 or 5 different sources that detail exactly what the plan was, when it was organized, et cetera. So,
wow.
We're going to do a lot on the U.S. is absolutely dragging us, the deep state dragging us into war, period. Sad stuff.
Yeah. So people are going to be able to join us for that. And we're just about 5 minutes away. So we'll give everybody a little bit of time to get onto patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, where they can sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne. Again, if people want to check out their DVD on LibyanWarTheTruth.com, sponsoring Jimmy and JoAnne on Patreon is a great option because you're going to get free shipping on the DVD. It's normally $5. The DVD is only $15, so you're going to save the shipping cost. And you help support Jimmy and JoAnne, keep independent journalism going. We don't have any huge multi-billion-dollar corporations sponsoring this show, so we rely on you, the viewers, and your sponsorship to keep bringing you interesting information like this. Jimmy and JoAnne are in direct contact with the tribes of Libya. General Michael Flynn has said they are the best source of human intelligence that the United States has ever had from Libya, so you're not going to want to miss tonight's show. We'll see everybody over there in just a few minutes. Looking forward to it, Jimmy and JoAnne.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.